The building was a ghost of itself at this hour. Kola hadn't meant to stay this late. The quarterly reports had swallowed his evening whole, and now here he was, tie loosened, top button undone, a half-empty whiskey glass sweating rings onto a contract worth 40 million naira. He heard the trolley before he saw him. The soft squeak of wheels. The low, almost inaudible hum of someone who didn't know they were being listened to. Kasim stepped into the office doorway with a mop in hand and music in his chest, completely unaware that the CEO was sitting in the dark. Kola didn't speak. He just watched. Kasim was 29, lean and sharp-featured, skin like polished mahogany, lashes too long for a man who worked night shifts and asked for nothing. There was a quiet dignity in the way he moved, unhurried, careful, like the floor deserved his respect. Then Kasim looked up. Their eyes met. Neither of them moved. Sorry sir. I didn't know you were still. Don't apologize. Kola's voice came out lower than he intended. He stood slowly, the whiskey doing dangerous things to his filter. He walked toward Kasim the way a man walks when his legs have made a decision his mind hasn't approved yet. He stopped close. Too close. Kasim's breath caught. He could smell the whiskey, yes, but beneath it, something warmer. Something that had nothing to do with alcohol. Kola's eyes dropped, just briefly, to Kasim's lips. You hum when you think no one is listening, Kola said softly. Kasim swallowed. You shouldn't be this close to me, sir. Probably not. But he didn't move. Neither did Kasim. The city hummed 34 floors below them, indifferent and glittering, and for 4 suspended seconds the entire world held its breath. Then Kasim stepped back. And everything that was about to begin, paused. For now. Kola woke up with a headache and a memory he couldn't shake. Not the whiskey. Not the deadline. Those eyes, steady, dark, quietly defiant, had followed Kola straight into his sleep and were still there when his alarm screamed at 6:15. He lay in his penthouse bed, 32 years old and embarrassingly unsettled by a man he barely knew. A cleaner. He hated himself a little for how quickly that thought arrived. And hated himself more for what followed it. Does that matter? He dressed slowly that morning. Charcoal suit, no tie. He caught himself in the mirror longer than usual, which was new. Kola Adeyemi was not a man who second-guessed his reflection. At the office by 8, he moved through his morning like armor, back straight, voice crisp, every assistant and board member falling into the rhythm he set. Nobody saw the storm underneath. But at 9:22 a.m. the elevator doors opened on the ground floor and Kasim walked in. Work uniform, a small bag on his shoulder, eyes aimed at the floor the way people aim their eyes when they've decided not to want things. Kola was already inside. The doors closed. Silence pressed between them like a held breath. Good morning, sir, Kasim said. Professional. Careful. A wall built overnight. You don't have to call me sir. Kasim looked up then and something flashed across his face, confusion laced with something more dangerous. It's appropriate. Last night you've been drinking. Kasim's jaw tightened gently. It's fine. It didn't happen. The elevator opened at the lobby. Kasim stepped out first. Kola stood there a beat longer, watching him walk away, spine straight, unhurried, dignified in a uniform that wasn't designed to dignify anyone. It didn't happen. Except it had. And the worst part wasn't that Kola wanted to correct him. The worst part was that he wanted to prove him wrong. Kasim was not naive. He was 29, not 19. He had watched enough of the world from its bottom floor to know how these things worked. Powerful men got lonely at night. Soft words in dark offices meant nothing by morning. He had his rent to pay, a younger sister in university, and exactly 0 room in his life for beautiful mistakes. Kola Adeyemi was a beautiful mistake if he had ever seen one. So Kasim did what sensible people do. He avoided the 34th floor. For 4 days it worked perfectly. On the 5th day, he rounded a corridor with his cleaning cart and walked directly into a broad chest that smelled like cedar and quiet money. Kola caught him by both arms before he stumbled. You've been taking the stairs, Kola said. Not accusing. Almost amused. Kasim straightened immediately and stepped back. The elevator was busy. All 5 days. The silence between them was loud. Kasim looked at him, really looked, maybe for the first time without the shield of surprise. Kola was handsome in a way that felt almost unfair. Strong jaw, warm dark eyes that didn't perform anything, a mouth that looked like it chose its words carefully except apparently when it was 11 p.m. and the whiskey was talking. What do you want from me? Kasim asked. Direct. Quiet. Kola blinked, clearly not expecting that. I want to know your name. Properly. You could check the staff roster. I want you to tell me. Kasim exhaled through his nose. Kasim. Kasim. The way Kola said it, deliberate like he was deciding to remember it, did something uncomfortable to Kasim's chest. I'm not someone you can practice feelings on, Kasim said, voice low. I go home to a one-room apartment. You go home to a penthouse. Whatever this is. I don't know what this is either, Kola admitted quietly. That stopped Kasim completely. Because that honesty, was the most dangerous thing Kola had said yet. It started as a work errand. Kola needed files delivered to the archive room after hours. Kasim's supervisor assigned him. It was routine. Boring. Safe. Except when Kasim arrived at the archive room at 7, there was no archive work. There was a small table, 2 plates of food from the restaurant 3 blocks away, and Kola leaning against the wall like he had rehearsed looking casual and failed wonderfully. Kasim stared at him. I overstepped, Kola said immediately. If you want to leave, leave. I won't make it weird. Kasim should have left. Every practical voice in him pointed at the door. He pulled out a chair and sat down. Something in Kola's face shifted, relief trying to disguise itself as composure. They ate. And they talked. Really talked. Kola asked questions and actually listened, which Kasim hadn't been prepared for. He asked about Kasim's sister, about the town he came from, about what he wanted, not what he did but what he wanted. Nobody asked Kasim that. Architecture, Kasim said quietly. I studied 2 years before money stopped me. Kola was quiet for a moment. Do you still draw? Sometimes. On the corners of receipts. Kasim laughed softly, and it was the first unguarded sound he had made in weeks. Kola's eyes did something tender at the sound of it. You're looking at me like that again, Kasim said. Like what? Like I'm something. Kasim. Kola's voice dropped. You walked into my office and made the whole room feel different without trying. You've been carrying yourself with more dignity than most men I pay 6 figures. You are something. The space between them was suddenly very small. Kasim's hand was on the table. Kola's fingers moved slowly, a question, not an answer, and rested gently over his. Neither of them spoke. Outside, Lagos moved and breathed and rushed. In that small room, time did something kind. It slowed. Word travels fast in tall buildings. By the following week, whispers had made their way through Nexera Tower like water through cracks. The CEO had been seen with the night cleaner. Someone had talked. Someone always talked. Kasim heard it from a colleague who meant well and said it badly. They're saying Olga is just playing with you. You know how these rich ones do. He went quiet for 2 days. Kola noticed immediately. He found Kasim outside the building on a break, sitting on a concrete step, staring at nothing. What happened? Kola sat beside him without hesitation. No care for his suit, the ground, or who was watching. Don't do that, Kasim said tightly. Do what? Sit next to me like it costs you nothing. It might not cost you. Kasim. I told myself I wouldn't do this. His voice cracked at the edges just slightly. I told myself a man like you doesn't look at a man like me and mean it. I told myself. He pressed his thumb against his eye. And then you go and mean it, or you look like you mean it, and I don't know which is worse. Kola was quiet for a long time. Then, I've been in 3 relationships. All of them with men my board approved of. All of them empty. His voice was low, unhurried. I haven't looked forward to anything in years, Kasim. And then I heard you humming in the dark and He stopped. Steadied himself. I mean it. I know how that sounds. I know you have every reason not to believe me. Kasim turned to look at him. Kola met his eyes and didn't look away. Then prove it, Kasim said. Not with dinner. Not with gestures. Just, don't disappear when it gets complicated. Kola nodded slowly. I'm still here, aren't I? Kasim looked at the city ahead of them. For the first time in a long time, it didn't look so far away. 3 months later, the architecture firm received an anonymous sponsorship. Full scholarship. Tuition, materials, 2 years of support, enough to finish what had been interrupted. The letter arrived at Kasim's sister's school first, then the follow-up came to Kasim directly. He stood in Kola's apartment that evening holding the letter, and he didn't say a word for almost a full minute. You had no right, Kasim finally said. I know. Kola was leaning in the kitchen doorway, calm but watching him carefully. You can't just, Kasim pressed his lips together. His eyes were bright in a way he wasn't trying to hide anymore. Why? Kola crossed the room slowly. Because you drew buildings on receipt paper and still showed up to work every morning. Because your sister calls you every Sunday and you step outside to answer so your roommate doesn't hear you telling her everything is fine when it wasn't. He stopped in front of him. Because you deserved someone to make something easier. Kasim looked down at the letter in his hands. Then he looked up. I'm still a cleaner, Kola? For now. Kola's voice was soft. And when you're not, you'll be an architect. And either way, his hand came up slowly, gently to the side of Kasim's face. You'll be exactly who you were the night I heard you humming. That's the person I. Don't say it fast, Kasim said quietly. Say it like you mean it. Kola held his gaze. I love you, Kasim. No performance. No audience. Just two men standing in a kitchen in Lagos, one of them powerful by the world's measure and both of them finally, quietly free. Kasim exhaled, the long kind, the kind that carries old weight out with it. He folded the letter, set it down, and stepped forward. The city glittered beyond the window, indifferent and brilliant, the same city that had watched them from opposite ends of a building and never imagined this. But here it was. Everything. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about the story and also do well to subscribe, like and share.